Welcome to the Empathy Circle Facilitation Training. Really glad that you're taking part in this training. What I wanted to do here is just give you an overview of session 2. I've created a slideshow that goes through all the different parts of the training, and this is just a bit of an overview is a way for you to get comfortable with the training and know what to expect. I know for myself, when I take a training, I really like to know what's going to be happening in the training, and the more details I get, the better and more comfortable I feel. Kind of helps reduce anxiety for myself. So this is a little video clip and slideshow, and let me see here. I'm going to share it here, and so this is the slideshow, and this is our version 1 of this slideshow. Do take any notes and send them to me. Any suggestions for improving this? We do want to keep making this better and better all the time. And in this session number 2, you will get to practice facilitating an empathy circle. And just a reminder, this training is very experiential, and which I really find is the best way to learn. And what you're seeing here is just some of the many cohorts we've had that have gone through this training with us. And let's start with the session overview. This training session is 2.5 hours. There's 3 main components, parts to it. The first part is the full group. We all meet together in a full group for 30 minutes. And then we go into a breakout rooms for about an hour and a half. And then we come back again into the full group for a full group debrief and some other things there to end the session. And I'm going to focus on each of the sessions and review them, and just let you know what we are going to be doing in each of the sessions. Also give you some tips on how you can be prepared for each section. And let's go into the first section, which is the full group, 30 minutes. And this is the breakdown of what we do in this first part. In the first part, everyone arrives, and we have about 20 minutes where we call on each participant, and each participant, you can take about 30 seconds, and you can share any questions, comments, etc. from the last session that you have, or you can share any learnings from your empathy buddy call that you had during the week, or you can do a short report on facilitating an empathy circle from this last week. Hopefully you were able to hold an empathy circle with some family and friends, and you could just report, how that went for you. What was your experience? So that's about the first 20 minutes of this section, 30-minute section. And then we have about 5 minutes where we just answer any questions you posted in the session feedback form or that came up in the check-ins. Be sure to fill out the session feedback form, at the end of the session, and post any questions there to be answered in the following week's session. It's just a good way for us to get those questions down in writing, and then we can respond to them. And that's what we'll be doing in those 5 minutes. One of the trainers will be answering those questions. And then we'll have a description of what we're going to do in the breakout room. So there'll be a little, just overview of what to expect in the breakout room. And then, let's see, we'll go to the next one. And so you see that was the full group, just introduction. And then we'll go into the breakout rooms, and we're going to be there for about an hour and a half. And usually you're going to be in the breakout room with 3 fellow participants. I mean, 3 participants in total. There'll be 1 trainee, and the trainee is someone who's learning to be a trainer of the overall training. The participants are learning how to be facilitators, and the trainees are learning how to train others and actually train people using this training that we're doing today. And then there'll be one trainer, and the trainer is sort of supporting the trainee just in holding the whole room. They're kind of going to be monitoring the times and sort of managing the whole time frame of the room. And it could be different, though. Not every room is going to be the same. It all really depends on sort of how many people we have in the cohort, how many show up, and all this. So it may be a little bit different. There may be just one trainer and one trainee, or two participants, or sort of the combination will sort of might be a little bit different, but this is what we're really trying for: 3 participants, 1 trainee, and 1 trainer. So what will happen is, let's see. And so what you're going to be doing as a participant, you're going to be practicing facilitating a short empathy circle. And what's going to happen is the trainee is going to divide the 1.5 hours by the number of participants. So in this case, 3. Then we'll have they'll divide the time into 30-minute sections, and then each participant will get about 25-30 minutes to facilitate this short empathy circle. And the empathy circle is with getting feedback. The times, again, are dynamic, depends on if we get into the breakout rooms on time or not. Sometimes we go over a little bit. If there are 2 participants, just 2 participants, then we divide the time by half. You get 45 minutes to facilitate your short empathy circle. And the trainee will give a bit of an explanation and ask who wants to facilitate the first short empathy circle, and then let's zoom in. Somebody volunteers. So an overview of this section is the trainee will ask for someone to volunteer to be first. The participant will give a short how to take part in the empathy circle instructions. This is for about 5 minutes. You'll pause after that to get feedback from the group on how the delivery of your how-to went, and that takes 4 or 5 minutes. And then you'll continue to facilitate the empathy circle, and it'll be plus or minus 15 minutes. And your topic for this circle is, what are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator, or, as always, whatever is alive for you. And we'll do 3-minute turns. And we do short 3-minute turns so that there's more time for kind of shifting between people. It's a very short time that you have to facilitate the circle. We want to give as many people in the circle time to speak as possible. And then after that, you'll pause and get feedback from the group on how you did with facilitating the full circle. So you will, as the facilitator, facilitating here, which is really the main practice in this section, is for you to learn, just to sort of practice giving the how-to instructions. You'll give the how-to instructions. You can actually just read the PDF, which I'll show you in a minute. If you haven't done this before, just there's a step-by-step PDF for how to do this. You're going to set the topic. What are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator, or whatever is alive for you? You're going to set the turns, 3-minute turns, and you will be the first listener. And then so that's I'm just kind of repeating that. And then let's sort of zoom in, give the how to take part in it, instructions. So this is, let's just zoom in on this first part. And let's go through this step by step. The context is you're imagining that you're facilitating an empathy circle with a group that is not familiar with the practice. Because, if everybody knows the practice, you don't even need to explain it. There's almost no facilitation needed if you're with, 4 or 5 people who have done the practice several times. There's just the timekeeping to do. And so we want you to actually, in this case, to practice facilitating with people who are new to the practice so you can get some experience with it. Usually people have reported that by doing this, when they went and actually did, the introduction with, in a real circle with real new participants, it really helped them a lot to have just had a chance to practice this, just made them feel much more at ease. So let's see, you're going to give the how to take part instructions. So you got 5 minutes for this. You give, I'm just repeating this again, because this is sort of the main task to do. The most challenging part of the whole this whole section is you give the how-to presentation, explain how the empathy circle works. As mentioned, you can just read the PDF if you're, just wanting to sort of a cheat sheet. You set the topic. What are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator or whatever's alive for you? You're setting the 3-minute time limit, and you're going to be the timekeeper. You explain that you will be the first listener. And again, because the reason for being the first listener is a facilitator is that with the new participants, by being the first listener, you can model how to do the listening. People are going to be watching you, and you can model how to do it. And this will help them to better understand how the process works. And also, since you were the first listener, you're going to be the next speaker, and you can model how to speak. You can speak and give the pauses, and you can sort of speak in a way that makes it easier for the listener to follow you and reflect what you're saying. And you're just sort of setting the tone for the whole circle. And once you've given the how-to, you can stop and then you'll get some feedback from the group. And before we cover the feedback in the group section, just wanted to give you some heads up about sort of really preparing yourself for giving the how-to instructions. You can review the how-to videos. There's a couple of how-to videos on the web page, which the link is in the description here. This is the 9-minute instructions, the picture here, but there's a really short 6-minute version as well. Plus there's the 1-page PDF that covers sort of the main points of an empathy circle with some speaker and listener and silent listener tips. And sometimes I just show if it's a really large group, I just show the 6-minute how-to videos, and instead of just even giving the presentation. Another strategy is you can just write out the presentation that you feel comfortable with, or you can just sort of wing it. If you're a good facilitator, just improvise. And on that web page, there's also recordings of some of the other people who have done the how-tos and how they got feedback. So you can go check that and watch some other videos of how people have done the how-to. And the main thing is, just really to have fun with it. This is a good opportunity to practice this in a supportive group. So you've given the how-to now instructions, and then you pause. The trainee will then ask you, how to get your feedback on it. How was that? What was your experience giving the how-to? What kind of feelings and experiences came up, and you share that. And then the trainee or trainer will call on the other participants and have each of them just share for, very short share. How was the experience for them? Did they feel you were relaxed, covered everything? just whatever their experience is, so you can get some learnings from hearing what they have to share with you. So once you've heard from everyone, we go next. We move into just continue with the empathy circle. When you're just going to be keeping the time, the 3 minutes time, and you're going to have some way of showing when the time is up. You have a little sign. Some people hold up their clock just to indicate how you're going to be indicating time. And you just keep going with the circle for the time allotted, which will maybe 15 minutes or so. And then the trainee will let you know when the time is up. And then once your time is up, for that section, there's going to be about 5 minutes or so for everyone in the group to reflect again how the overall experience was. Starting with you. So usually we just have whoever was facilitating, they get to share first what their experience is, and then we hear from the experience of all the other participants and trainers and trainees. So then, okay, then that was participant 1. And then we do the exact same thing. We have the time for participant 2. They will do the same step that we just did with participant 1. And then there'll be the third participant. We'll go through here from each, from that participant facility. They'll give the how-to and facilitate the circle, etc. So it's the same for each participant. And again, as mentioned, if there's only 2 participants, you'll probably have like 45 minutes each for your sections. And then sometimes, like at the end, there's a little bit of time left for a full group, for your little circle to discuss with each other, maybe any final comments before you go back to the full room. And so just to review, we did the full group, and then we did your breakout rooms, and then you'll be called back into the full group. So we're going to have a time to about 30 minutes for the full group again. And you'll all come back. And in this is the sort of the breakdown for this section is there's about 25 minutes where someone will call on each of you to just share what your most important experiences or learnings in the breakout rooms were. So we and then we just call in each person. You want to be kind of brief, because especially if it's a large group, we want to hear from everyone. We'll start with the participants. If there's time, we may hear from the trainees and the trainers. If there's not enough time, we just don't call on them. We want to really put a focus on the participants who are learning to facilitate. And then we have the last 5 minutes is the closing, and we hear any final trainer comments, any just short comments from the trainer, any things that need to be covered. Review what we did in this session, so there's a bit of a recap, and then we just give a bit of some steps that review what we're going to be doing in the next week. We mentioned this week's assignments, because we do send out assignments for you to do, empathy buddies, calls, etc. And we do a final jazz hand, goodbye, and then you can drop off the call at that point. So we just at the end, be sure should be a link posted to this feedback session. We really appreciate if you fill out that session feedback form, and there you can post any questions that came up that you have. That way you can get them down on writing, and then they'll be answered ideally, hopefully next week. And you also want to keep an eye out that in a day or so for for the email, which will have your week's assignments, your empathy buddy call assignments. And then you can drop off the call, and the training team, the trainees and trainers stay back, and they have a bit of a debrief session. And so that's the outline. You've had your full group meet section to begin with. You have your breakout rooms where really a lot of the experiential part comes. Then you have your full group debrief. So that's it. Hope this is helpful. Do send me any any comments about how this introduction works. This is the first version of it, so really trying to improve it. Anything that would kind of make it more informative for you as a participant or as a trainee, anything that would sort of help you. What would you like to see in this description? I'll make another version of it, for our next cohort. So that's it. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for taking part in the training, and hope to see you in the circle soon. Bye.